Dearest gentle reader.
Hey Bridgies. I just finished Bridgerton season 4 part 1 and I want to discuss. Now I am sort of a Bridgerton fan, a Bridgie. What are you called if you love Bridgerton? I've seen all of the show. I haven't read any of the books because it's not that well reviewed really. Sorry. I agree largely with the mainstream opinion that seasons 1 and 2 were phenomenal juggernauts of a show. Season 3 sort of dipped and was a bit disappointing because it was very highly anticipated, being Penelope season, and then like where was she? Where was the tension for her storyline? Like, it just dipped. People say that the cinematography sort of dipped, and generally just the spectacle of it was not on the level of season 1 and 2. And I would say, so far, season 4, it might be back. It's not back in the full shablam spectacle, thank you next on violin quartet, but that's because the story is a different story. The story is not really about the spectacle and this like exuberant life. It's about highlighting the story of someone who comes from kind of more adversity, and it starts commenting on class in this society. It's more sophisticated than just purely thank you next. With full respect to Rariana. Wow, wow, wow. No Oscar nom though. Anyway, Bridgerton is obviously a juggernaut of a show, but there are a few headlines splashing around that season 4 part 1 has been received slightly less from the audience, and it cites the Rotten Tomatoes score. Season 4 part 1 of Bridgerton has 66% on Rotten Tomatoes for audiences. The rating for critics is 80%. I think I would agree with the critics a bit more. It is interesting that audience ratings for some reason have been less. I don't know what that's about. Nonetheless, it still has had incredible viewing figures, so anyway, let's get into my thoughts about this season so far. Season 4 is Benedict's story, which is the second book in the book series. It tells the story of Benedict Bridgerton, who's played by Luke Thomas, falling in love with Sophie Beck, or Sophie Beckett. Sophie Beck is a Korean name, because the actress playing her is Korean, Yearning, who is doing a phenomenal job, by the way. Like, she's stealing the show. She's literally stealing the show. I think it's really fun, side note, that they've made her surname Korean and they've just added in that she speaks Korean, and obviously she's from a Korean family, so I just think that's cool. Classic Bridgerton, like, inclusivity, like shameless and anachronistic inclusivity. I just think it's cool. As I said, Yerin is phenomenal. I'm loving her. She is really funny. She's got a great chemistry with Benedict. They've both got this cynical tone in their flirting. They've both got this cynicism and also amusement at the other's cynicism. Basically, how the story's going down is it's just like the story of Cinderella, which is right on brand for Bridgerton because it just does these classic tropes, and why not step up from a classic trope to a literal fairy tale cliche? Like, left your slipper at the ball. So Sophie Beck is actually a ward. She's of noble blood, but she was born out of wedlock, so she technically isn't noble, even though she has noble blood. Think Jon Snow in Game of Thrones. And so she's working as a maid because she's like not nobility, and she sneaks out with these iconic servant friends and like housekeeper friend who help her sneak out to go to the masquerade ball because she has a spare mask. And at said ball, at the Bridgerton's house, she meets Benedict. He doesn't really know who she is. She sort of then realizes who she is. She's having a blast. She just wants like one night to feel like a lady. And she accidentally finds the man of her dreams. And they are kind of both obsessed from the get-go. Like I said, great chemistry on their first meeting. They like run outside while the best music is playing, but they're just outside Literally like in the movie A Cinderella Story, they're underneath a little gazebo and having chats. He's trying to work out who she is and she's evading all the questions and literally is like, I'm not here to find a husband. I'm not here to tell anyone who I am. Stop asking. But they do kiss at the end though. That was done phenomenally. That was all done so perfectly. I literally don't care that it's like, why are you telling a Cinderella story? I don't care. They did it so well, so I'm here for it. It was good to get away from the Cinderella story eventually. I strayed off of it when Sophie got fired from her job by her like evil stepmom. And that is good, honestly, purely just to keep the tension going, which I think they're doing very well. That's one of the big things I think they're doing incredibly well, is just longing out the build-up. That's what these tropic love stories are about, is pretty much the preamble before you get into a relationship, the tension building towards the relationship, the like misunderstandings and the crazy feelings and not being able to speak openly. The dramatic irony, of course, as the audience, knowing that they both feel the way they feel and each of them doesn't fully understand the way the other feels yet. All of these things is being done so well. Like, this is what this show is, and it's so good that they are back to doing exactly what the show should be doing. That was something that season 3 really flopped with, because the Penelope Colin storyline, which like should have been extremely satisfying because it's actually been built up for season 1 and 2, was building towards it, they just like kind of rushed it, gave it away. There was not too much tension in the build up, which, as I'm saying, is Bridgerton's bread and butter. That's what the main storyline should be, is the tension of this love story. And so in that regard, I do think that the pacing so far for season 4 part 1 has been pretty perfect. The pacing of this plot, the main plot, has been flawless. Woke up like this. She flawless. I will say that the stepmom and like the one evil stepsister is a bit on the nose. Obviously it's a Cinderella type story, but in this world of Bridgerton, we have had many complex characters, and even people who are like antagonists or villains have had some complexity to their character, and there's been like some struggles that we see them struggling with. So to have like literal evil stepmom who just wears black and she's just like walks around looking like so evil all the time, evil. She literally is dressed as a witch. It's just a bit on the nose. It's a bit flat, a bit boring. I do think the actress playing her is gorge and doing a great job with the material she's given. And I do think it's fun to have at least one of the stepsisters to be fun. The sister Posey is friends with Sophie Beck when she's a maid. I think that's so fun. So that's a nice touch. At least there's like some complexity within the antagonist group. I wish there was a little bit more complexity to the character of the evil stepmom. To see a scene where she is at the grave of her husband, who is the father of her 2 children, and she's not grieving, she's not mourning, she's not comforting people around her or looking for comfort from people around her. What she's doing is saying that Sophie has been cut off and not mentioned in the will. Like the beats of Cinderella, being like, your dad didn't mention you in the will, you're worthless, and start the emotional abuse of the Cinderella character. Is a bit strange to show us that, because she is a human being and she just lost her husband. Why is there not more of a human grief emotion on display in that scene? It's a bit children's show, and this is not a children's show, so I think that's like one small criticism of this Cinderella plot. But as I say, the rest of the actual romantic main plot between Benedict and Sophie has been incredible. It's obviously a bit contrived to have them bump into each other again at this Cavendish house where Benedict saves her from this aggressive man, and then obviously that leads to him being injured and they get stuck while he's recovering in a house in the countryside to just create some more tension. It's a bit contrived, but if you look past that, because these things are often very contrived, as I say, the bread and butter of Bridgerton can be very contrived, at least they don't waste this like blatant contrivance. They get right to some good, like, confused feelings and tension. Tension is the word of the day. Tension, tension, tension. I will say they could possibly be doing a bit of a better job explaining and justifying Benedict's duality of strong feelings, because he has this like strong inclination to find the mystery Cinderella figure, who is Sophie Beck, and he also has strong feelings for this maid, Sophie Beck, also, who he's met. But from his point of view, he does not know they're the same people yet, which is a cause of the tension. But in his head, these two girls are different people. And whenever he's talking about either of them, he has this surety. He's like, I must find my mystery Cinderella girl. I must find her. I'm dreaming about her. Like, we see him thinking about her and looking at girls, trying to work out if their lips are the same as the lips he saw of this girl. With, you know, this conviction to find this girl. And then there's also such strong conviction for his feelings for this maid. He literally is like, you've consumed me. And so that there's a bit of a disconnect there, because he's feeling these two things very strongly at once, and they haven't really addressed that. They haven't really seen him like pondering between the two thoughts. Because we've had a lot of great insight into Benedict as a character, which is another massive success of the series so far, is delving more into his character to understand how he feels out of place within his family, and he's never finished some of these projects that he's started but not finished. That's all very cool, very interesting. And then we see him pick up doing art a bit more, and he's drawing art. And through the art that he's drawing and the paintings he's painting, we get insights into the things he's thinking about, the questions in his mind that he's mulling over. And so they really could have used that somehow to address this duality of conviction of feeling that he's having. For example, just by having him painting two girls, like the faceless maid and the faceless, the girl in a mask, like, and looking at them both and being like, having a moment of just acknowledging that he's having this like strong duality of feeling. Because, as I said, from his point of view, those are two different girls, and he's feeling so strongly about them, both at the same time. There's a disconnect there. So it's like a bit harder to believe him when he then goes to the girl as a maid and say, you've consumed. And obviously we know that they're the same girl, and presumably he is going to work out that they're the same woman. But like, there would be a huge payoff of that being like this explosive collision of these two separate feelings he's feeling, of like, oh my gosh, both my dream girls are the same woman, like, then she has to be my dream girl, like, she is the one. That payoff would be so much stronger and almost like arguably come into existence at all if we see him conflicted between the two girls to begin with. They might get onto a bit of that in part 2 of season 4. I hope they do. That's like a small criticism, because as I say, I am really enjoying it. Another thing that I think is maybe the best part of the series so far is the spotlight that so many servants are getting. So much of the help are getting so much screen time. These new characters that we've never seen before, or have only been peripheral or background characters like housekeepers and things, are at the forefront of scenes. They are the focus of plot, storylines, and even Lady Whistledown's gossip mag thing, which is just very satisfying. It's bringing in some realness. We're ready for the realness. Season 1, Season 2, Bridgerton, the spectacle, obviously Season 3 too as well, but who cares about Season 3? The spectacle, the escapism, I think it was the exact right decision to bring in some realness, bring in these people who are working for their living. These people who are not just like born noble and blessed and get to dress up and find love, and that's literally the only interesting thing they have to do is read a gossip mag. It could have run the risk of being a bit boring if there wasn't this extra element this season of this kind of social commentary, bringing up the classes and who deserves to be at these balls. It's not like it's revolutionary, but it's very satisfying to watch. It's more interesting. And like I say, the characters that we're being introduced to are very funny, very interesting. They are the ones who make these balls happen. We've never seen them before, but they're starting to have a spotlight. They're even within the world starting to get a bit more leverage because of this whole maid war, which is also very satisfying. Seeing the Featherington housekeeper being offered another job and being able to be like, actually, I can do better than this. I'm being valued more elsewhere. Like, thank you, next. Also, obviously, the life of a servant causes these close bonds, these people who live and work together in this house for this noble family. They have such a tight-knit bond, and they're doing that very well. We're seeing the servants have each other's back. We're seeing them on their breaks. We're seeing them cover for each other's chores so that one girl can go to the ball. Cinderella, you shall go to the ball. Like, you don't need a fairy godmother when you have the tight-knit friendship and support of your fellow servants in the servants' quarters. Like, the fairy godmother really is the friends we made along the way. It's just giving very much Downton Abbey, and the reason Downton Abbey was so good is because of the servants, because of the realness. I love Downton Abbey, and I'm loving what this season is doing. It's reminding me of Downton Abbey in a fantastic way. I will say though, one note on the maid war that is happening is there could be a sort of inadvertent, like, classist undertone to the message of the fact that Sophie needs 3 maids to replace her when she gets fired from her job. It's like, oh my gosh, made such a mistake because I literally need 3 people to replace you. It is a major flex, very iconic from Sophie Beck, who, like I said, is stealing the show this season. But it's like, oh, she's so good and just like such an overachiever, and they sort of half linking it to the fact that she's had an education and like she can speak French. It's just very barely sort of indicating that this like privilege that she's had is just making her a better servant, which is a bit strange because these noble families actually would have made terrible servants because they don't really have to do any hard work in their life. And if they had to be a servant for the day, they would absolutely struggle. Like, have you seen Undercover Boss? So I do think that's a bit strange how much they're pushing that Sophie is like such an amazing maid. It does make a bit of sense just because she's a bad bitch, so of course she's good at anything she does. It's sort of strange how much better she is than like your average maid. Because, like I said, one thing that I'm enjoying about this season is this like spotlight and empowerment of the stories of the servants, and this is kind of countering that by saying that someone who's had a bit of an experience of nobility and like has a bit of a noble background is just like so much better than a normal like working class servant. It's a bit weird when you think too deeply about it, which maybe you're never advised to do with Bridgerton. Okay, now on to some of the B plots. I'm not going to talk too much about these because basically the headline is I'm loving the B plots. What I'm loving is they're not boring. The B plots in season 3 were so boring and they took over the show. What I'm loving about these is they're snappy. They're cute scenes about characters that we love, like some of the best characters. And it's about them exploring their wants. Like the characters that we want to see happy are exploring how to make themselves happy and get the things they want. 2 examples being Agatha and Mummy Bridgerton is what I have in my notes. Let me see what she's called. Tracy Beaker's mum. Lady Violet Bridgerton. How could I forget Lady Bridgerton? Yeah, seeing Lady Danbury and her like tension with the Queen as she tries to basically retire from society. It's very interesting. It's very cool. I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying the Queen sort of being put in her place. Very satisfying to see the Queen apologise to her friend, which only goes to show how much she respects and cares for Lady Danbury. Again, a bad bitch. Like, who else is out here getting an apology from the Queen of England? I've never heard of that in my whole life. Literally never. In a very similar way, Violet Bridgerton, Lady Bridgerton, exploring her new relationship with Lord Danbury. Is that who he is? Lord Danbury? Viscount Danbury? Girl, I don't know. It's really fun, it's really nice. They're doing it so well. And also she looks incredible. The scene where she drops down her dressing gown and is feeling herself, I love that. Again, it's just something we haven't seen from the previous seasons because everyone's a virgin and they all don't know what they're doing, and it's about them sort of learning about what they're doing. But this is like a lady of the ton. She knows what she's doing. I'm not going to talk too much about it, but did you see the scene where they got to business? She knew what she was doing. She knew what she wanted. She said, "Get undressed." Exactly as I said about Lady Danbury, seeing a character that I love behaving how she should and getting the things that she wants. That's all I want from a show like this. When it's a B plot, I don't need there to be some crazy drama. I do think there could be more Penelope because she is a fan favourite, but she is in it a fair amount and she's killing it with the material she's got. I sort of thought that maybe Penelope could be one of the Queen's ladies in waiting because there's like this vacancy for a lady in waiting. I thought that could be a good idea, but overall I think it is probably best that she's not, just because that would again be so contrived and it would be like, so this is just the Penelope show. It's her, basically. She used to be so good. I guess because Eloise is also kind of a bit boring, like she's not really doing much. Again, I think it's for the best. Just have her bubbling on the back burner. It means that we'll be more excited to see her again when we do see her for her season. And so some final just general thoughts. Cinematography is gorge. Loving all of the colours and the vibrancy. The way that they create tension using camera angles and using closeness or distance. Phenomenal. They've always been great. I do think this is a stellar edit, to be honest. Costumes, unreal, as per. The Featheringtons are barely in it. Honestly, that's something that's kind of sad because I do love the Featherington sisters that got married. Kind of missing them because they were hilarious. The Featherington mum is fine and her costumes are fine. Bridgerton's costumes, like chef's kiss, it's almost getting boring how incredible they are, but it's obviously not. Lady Danbury, come on. Come on. Maid costumes that Sophie has been in have been fun. The Bridgerton one is very swish. I'm excited to see her looking glam. Sets are beautiful. Come on. We've literally been in the Bridgerton household for so much of this season, which just means we're in this gorgeous house. Like, the sets have been incredible. I've written here, honestly, it's okay to not have too much or any at all Kate and Anthony, because I don't want them to ruin them. I feel like we've had 1 or 2 shots of just Kate and Anthony smiling at each other. That's fine for me. Even though, obviously, their season is probably the best season there might ever be. But there's no point in just like trying to drag them back for like fan service if you're not going to do anything with them, if they're just going to be smiling in the background and looking boring. You're just showing their marriage of that's like, why have they got nothing better to do than just stand in the background of Hyacinth having like a little like hissy fit? It's the right decision to not have them like standing like losers in the background. It would just draw focus from the main story, and it would also just cheapen and dilute the beautiful like excitement of seeing them on the screen. Final thing I've got written here is we've barely had any time at any balls or with the debutantes. Literally, we don't even have a diamond, like the new diamond debutante girl who's like diamond of the season. It's okay. It's sort of like how there's been barely any significance from Lady Whistledown, which I think again it's probably fine because it's not, Penelope's not the focus of this season, and we had that whole climax of Lady Whistledown revealing herself in season 3, so it's okay. If they had thought of a clever way to still have some interest in the season, because that's what this is supposed to be. We haven't really had any of that. There's literally no suitors coming to call, and Benedict, who is our main suitor, is barely going to call anyone. I think we've seen him go to call 2 people. The fun of the balls is not there. And that directly means that we've barely had any music. Like, the classic Bridgerton thing is orchestral or instrumental versions of modern day songs. I don't even know if we've had a single one. And the only debutantes we know are the 2 ugly stepsisters. They're not ugly. The 2 stepsisters. They're quite peripheral characters. They're only really there as accessories to the evil stepmom. So it's sort of like the premise of the show, as it initially was, is sort of fading out and losing the foreground. It's honestly fine. I really don't take issue with that because I'm enjoying this so much. And there could be a bit more tension. Like just a bit more yearning. Oh no, there's so much yearning. I don't know. I'm loving it. I'm loving the yearning. Having the main 2, Benedict and Sophie, in the same house, in Bridgerton house, is fantastic. I saw it coming. As soon as she was blacklisted, and then when he met up with her, I was like, she's gonna work at Bridgerton house 100%, and obviously she had to, because she can't work anywhere else because her mum's blacklisted. Having them together in the same house, bumping into each other, getting jealous when she sees that he's courting someone. Like, know your place, Sophie Beck. What are you doing getting jealous? So good, so good. That section of it is so good. The yearning. Needless to say, I am very excited for part 2 of Bridgerton season 4. Honestly, season 3 was such a disappointment that this was barely on my radar. The only reason it sort of was on my radar is because it's Benedict, and I knew that the Benedict story was a pretty good story. So those were my first impressions of the show so far, the series so far. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you disagreed with me on. And let me know if you've seen season 4 of Bridgerton. Bit crazy if you haven't, but I'll gladly be your source for part 2 of season 4. Have a great day. Bye, Diva.